Greetings, it's the Creator, back in action. Get ready for a weekly dive into the extraordinary. Every Sunday, I'll be your guide through the most gripping events in the world of mysteries. Tune in and join me as we navigate the top of the list. Prepare to be intrigued. Today on our priority list, the Cannibal Killer, exploring 12 notorious serial killers with a disturbing appetite for cannibalism. Number 12. Anthony Morley. On May 2, 2008, English model and chef Anthony Morley ran into a kebab house at 2:30 a.m., drenched in blood, and pleading for someone to call the police. Then the horrifying truth came out. He had murdered a man named Damien Oldfield, with whom he'd been sexually involved. After slitting Oldfield's throat, Morley cut, fried, seasoned, and attempted to eat pieces of Oldfield's leg. Morley was sentenced to life imprisonment for his heinous crime. Number 11. Albert Fish. Albert Fish was an American serial killer, rapist, and cannibal with a perverse taste for children. For his exceptionally cruel methods, he is one of the more famous cannibals in America. In 1928, he abducted 10-year-old Grace Budd in New York. 6 years later, the Budd family received an anonymous letter riddled with spelling errors that detailed a man's descent into madness and cannibalism. In the letter's final paragraph, Fish graphically recounted abducting Grace Budd, killing her, and consuming her flesh. The authorities soon apprehended Fish, and he was executed by electric chair in 1936. Number 10. Alexander Spesivtsev. Russian serial killer Alexander Spesivtsev is believed to be responsible for the murders of over 80 people, whom he lured into his home with the help of his mother. He kept a grisly diary of his killings, in which he described the torture, mutilation, dismemberment and cannibalization of his victims. Though he only confessed to the murder of 19 people, police believe the number to be much greater, based on evidence found at his home. One victim told the police she was forced to eat a soup made from the body of her friend. Spesivtsev was declared insane and committed to a mental institution in 1996. Number 9. Alfred Packer. American prospector Alfred Packer was one of the earliest cannibals in America. He claimed that he cannibalized his already dead fellow travelers to survive in the mountains of Colorado in the winter of 1874. However, inconsistencies in Packer's story, regarding how, exactly, the men died, led him to be sentenced to 40 years in prison, 8 years for each victim. He was released on parole in 1901, and died in 1907. Number 8. Jose Luis Calva. Police discovered Mexican murderer Jose Luis Calva eating a dish of human meat seasoned with lemon when they went to question him about the disappearance of his girlfriend in 2007. In his apartment, they also found the mutilated body of his girlfriend, human flesh in the refrigerator, a frying pan containing human flesh, and a cereal box filled with human bones. Calva had been working on an unfinished manuscript called Cannibal Instincts, and there was a photo of Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter taped to his wall. After being sentenced to 84 years in prison, Calva committed suicide in his cell. Number 7. Luca Magnotta. In 2012, a gruesome video of a young man being repeatedly stabbed with an ice pick, dismembered, then cannibalized was uploaded to a website called Best Gore. The man in the video was subsequently identified as Lin Jun, a missing international student at Concordia University in Montreal. Days later, packages containing body parts, which, after investigation, turned out to be Lin's, were delivered to the offices of the Conservative Party of Canada. Evidence led police to the apartment of Luc Magnotta, who by that time had fled to Paris, then Berlin. Magnotta was apprehended and sentenced to life in prison. Number 6. Rudy Eugene. Known as the Causeway Cannibal, Rudy Eugene brutally attacked homeless man Ronald Popo underneath the MacArthur Causeway in Miami in 2012. Eugene, who was naked at the time, beat Popo, then bit and chewed the flesh of his face, grossly disfiguring him and rendering him blind in both eyes. Police shot and killed Eugene after repeated warnings. A toxicology report showed that there was only marijuana in Eugene's system, and his family was dumbfounded by the new cannibal's sudden and inexplicable behavior. Number 5 Issei Sagawa. At barely 5 feet tall, Sagawa said he chose his classmate, the 5'10", 25-year-old Renee Hartevelt, as his victim for her beauty and health. He lured her to his apartment, shot her, and over the course of 2 days, cannibalized her body. When he tried to discard her remains in the Bois de Boulogne lake in Paris, he was spotted and arrested. The French government extradited Sagawa to Japan, where he was committed to a mental institution. But, with the French case closed, he was able to check himself out, and, horrifyingly, has lived free since 1986. Sagawa has published several books and even worked briefly as a restaurant reviewer, profiting off his famous cannibalism. However, in an interview with Vice magazine in 2009, he said that being forced to make a living as a known cannibal and murderer was a terrible punishment. Number 4 Muhammad Arif Ali and Muhammad Farman Ali. Police re-apprehended these Pakistani brothers when the head of a 3-year-old boy was discovered in their shared home in 2014. Already convicted of several counts of this gruesome crime in 2011, the 2 known cannibals had since been released. While being questioned for the more recent crime, they claimed to have dug up and cannibalized the corpses of over 100 people, incorporating them into homemade curry. In spite of their guilt, the men had been released from prison in May 2013, inciting, for obvious reasons, a public outcry. Number 3 Armin Meiwes. Known as the Master Butcher, German Armin Meiwes' famous cannibalism was wrought on a voluntary victim. Meiwes posted on a website called The Cannibal Cafe, for people with cannibalistic fetishes, that he was looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old male to be slaughtered and then consumed. Bernd Jürgen Armando Brands answered the ad. The 2 men made a videotape of Meiwes severing and then eating Brands' penis, which both men ate. Meiwes then killed and ate Brands. When a college student noticed the online ad, Meiwes was arrested and sentenced to 8 years in prison. At a subsequent retrial, in which he stated that he still had a taste for flesh, he was sentenced to life in prison. Number 2 Nikolai Jumagaliev. Kazakh serial killer Nikolai Jumagaliev confessed to the murder of 10 people, though authorities assume there were most likely more victims. He claimed he wanted to rid the world of prostitutes, and would attack women, drink their blood, then eat their remains. While drunk, he shot a co-worker and was apprehended, only to escape from custody twice. The second time he was on the run for 3 years. He was eventually apprehended and committed to a mental institution. The cannibal's doctors claimed he was cured in 2005. However, just before Christmas 2015, he supposedly escaped the facility again. Officials refuse to confirm whether or not Jumagaliev is at the mental facility, or if he even arrived there in the first place. Keep your eyes peeled. As we conclude, make sure to subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. Number 1 Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, or the Milwaukee Monster, was an American serial killer and sex offender. Born on May 21, 1960, Dahmer gained infamy for his gruesome and heinous crimes committed during the late 20th century. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer murdered and dismembered 17 young men and boys. His modus operandi often involved luring his victims to his home, where he would drug them before carrying out acts of necrophilia, dismemberment, and cannibalism. Dahmer's crimes shocked the nation due to their brutality and the extent of his depravity. Dahmer's actions were finally exposed in 1991 when one of his intended victims managed to escape and led police to his residence. Authorities discovered evidence of his horrific crimes, including human remains, photographs, and evidence of necrophilia. In 1992, Dahmer was convicted and sentenced to 16 life terms in prison. While in prison, Dahmer was killed by a fellow inmate in 1994. His case remains one of the most infamous examples of serial murder in American history, and it has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and movies.